What is happening, my blocked buddies? This is Blocked Content, and I gotta wish you all a very merry, happy new year. It's the new year. It's 2017, the year of the Nintendo Switch. For sure, you guys are excited, and today I wanted to dive in very deep into these latest leaks that have been springing up from all sides, and I thought it was so cool that this big Geno leak was kind of overlooked by a lot of people, right? I mean, Laura Kate Dale is doing these elaborate big leaks, like small trickling in from all sides, doing it on the Twitter sphere, doing it on, all these platforms, the Let's Play Video Games website, but this Geno guy, he only leaked it on Reddit, and, it kind of spread from there, and there's so much in there that on the original video that I kind of talked about it, that just wasn't enough. So I'm going to name every single thing that I thought was so exciting and that I wanted to talk about a little bit more, because right now it's time to talk some leaks, right? You guys, are you ready? Well, let's do it. Here we go. So one of the first things that stuck out to me was that he said the names of all the accessories for the Nintendo Switch, so the things that you click on, are the Joycon L and Joycon R. And we do know this, right? So they say Joycon Shell, which is probably the main controller you use where you can click in those things, and then the Joycon Pro, which is of course the Pro controller that is very much like a GameCube controller, very much like the Pro controller from the Wii U for your classic gaming needs. Now they also announced something new that we didn't know, which is the Joycon Shoot. So the Joycon Shoot is kind of similar to the unused Wii U Zapper concept. So we've seen that in the trailer for the Wii U, but we know this from the Wii days, right? There was like a Zapper thing that looked like a gun where you can like put your Wiimote in, and now it seems like we might be getting a Joycon Shoot, which will be, in my head it would be sort of like a gun where you can put the screen of the Switch in, right? So the screen might be sort of your view, your reticle, where you can look and maybe zoom in to snipe some enemies in some games and stuff like that. I can see it having some use in maybe The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as well as, the various first-person shooter games that third parties will bring. So it's similar to an unused Wii U Zapper concept, which I haven't heard about. If any of you in the comments know this, please link it to me because I want to see that. And he also mentions the Joy-Con wheel. So the Joy-Con wheel would be like an advanced version of the Wii wheel concept. So that is of course for racing games, and most notably it was Mario Kart Wii that used this, which was a cool, plastic wheel that you can, slip your controller into. And I can see this working really well with the pad, with the Switch handheld version. Lately I've been playing a little bit of Mario Kart 8, and just playing with the Wii U, gamepad is kind of cumbersome if you want to do that whole, the whole motion control thing. So having a new wheel for that would, certainly help a lot. I think that it's a very smart idea, especially if the leak idea, if the whole idea behind Mario Kart Complete Circuit, the new Nintendo Switch Mario Kart game, if those leaks are true. So there's also one thing that I have kind of speculated before, and I'm happy that it's supposedly announced. It's called the Joy-Con Arcade, which will be an arcade fight stick where the Switch core can also plug into it independent of the TV. So this is really cool, right? I mean, imagine an awesome game like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which was announced, looks amazing. We got Mega Man X in it, we got, Ryu back, we got all those classic heroes from the Capcom side against, the bigger side of Marvel, which now kind of looks inspired by their cinematic universe, which is the cinematic versions of Ant-Man and Iron Man as well. So it's really cool to see that, but to actually play that game with an arcade stick kind of peripheral on the Joy-Con controller, like on the Switch controller, you just slip on a cool arcade fight stick with buttons and this cool, stick. That'd be really, really cool, and I think that will, make it such a big tournament viable game, which would be really cool, because I think that games like Street Fighter, they need to be played with something like that. At least a big portion of the audience grew up with that kind of arcade fight stick, and that's where all the different finesses of the gameplay lie. So Nintendo is kind of catering to the hardcore gamer big time here, and that's very cool to see. So the final thing here, which is so crazy. I mean, when I read this, I went insane, and I read over it pretty quickly the last time. But let's analyze this, right? The Joyview. The Joyview is a peripheral for the Nintendo Switch, which is a cheap VR helmet, similar in function and low price to the Google Daydream. So, virtual reality Nintendo, I mean, I've been waiting for this for a very long time. Haven't you? I mean, playing something like The Legend of Zelda, wearing this peripheral on your head, and just looking at the Google Daydream, the whole concept itself, it's actually really cool. It looks like a very comfy kind of head, gear where you can actually kind of put your little, phone device in, and it sort of overlays on top of your head. So it would fit really well with something like the Switch, because you can just put the handheld version of that right there. And I think that would, work amazingly well. Because, you have this cool display, which may or may not be 1080p, and playing games in VR, and not, Nintendo isn't focused on VR. If we are to see Joyview as just a, cheap VR helmet, kind of like a small thing, then Nintendo isn't really focusing and banking on VR per se. But what I think that they're doing is saying, hey, we acknowledge VR and we think that there is a future in there. So maybe this is crazy, right? But maybe we can play a VR game like, Super Mario Kart, like driving around with your handheld, maybe with this would be awesome. So with the Joycon wheel on the Joycon shell, and then we put the handheld device on our Joyview. Wow, these are a lot of joyous things. And then you basically drive around in this Mario Kart world, but first person instead of third person, and it would feel so immersive. And I could see this happening for something like Metroid as well, which would be so cool. I mean, Metroid, right? In virtual reality, like Metroid Prime, just having your blaster, Samus's arm cannon, having it ready and walking through this, and I think that they could do a lot of horror things with the Metroid Prime series as well, like light horror elements, kind of like they already introduced in the more darker sequels, which were, Echoes, and I forgot what the last one was. But anyway, Echoes to me was like a very dark portion of that franchise, and it would be really cool to have more of a horror vibe, because that works really well with something like VR. So I'm very excited to see something like that happen. Now, the other thing that I wanted to go into, which is insane to me, is the fact that we are getting virtual console games, but not just virtual console games. We are getting virtual console games for the GameCube, which is one of my favorite consoles of all time. I think it's only rivaled by the Nintendo 64 and the SNES, but the GameCube was such a phenomenal thing with such good games, great first-party titles, and the leak actually says get ready for not only a ton of virtual console games from Nintendo systems, but for GameCube virtual console games. So this is so cool. The first 3 at launch, and Block Content has already kind of made a video about this and talked about it at length: Luigi's Mansion, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Smash Bros. Melee. Now, I do think that there is not a lot going on with these simple ports. I think they will be, upscaled to fit, everything on the new Switch. I don't think they will be HD remakes or something like that. I really want to, but I don't think that they will. All these franchises still live. Super Mario Sunshine is going to get sort of a quasi-sequel with this new Switch Mario game, which we are going to get into, so don't worry about that. Super Smash Bros. Melee, of course, already has, many sequels, but I think that it will get its, Super Smash Bros. For Switch sequel as well. And Luigi's Mansion, we got Luigi's Mansion 2 or Dark Moon on the 3DS system, which I think is, very, very recent, and it would make sense to, reinvigorate that franchise. There was this cool arcade Luigi's Mansion as well, and I think with something like Joyview, that VR Nintendo thing, Luigi's Mansion could work really, really well. But, I don't think Luigi's Mansion, the port for the Virtual Console, will do anything special like that. Future games being looked into by NERD are F-Zero GX, which is so cool. I mean, that game is so overlooked by so many. I think it's just amazing that they are bringing back the F-Zero franchise and doing it so much good. I hope that we're getting a sequel or a new game in the franchise because it deserves it so much. And I want to see the full story behind, Captain Falcon and seeing where he came from, where he's going, what his future is. So other games are Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, which I loved. It was such a, fine-tuned game, and it was so cool to learn all these different character stories. And it has Animal Crossing from the GameCube, which was, of course, the big introduction to the Animal Crossing world. And it also has the Prince of Persia's Sands of Time. And if you guys remember that game, it was the game where you can slow down time and, walk across the walls. That game was so cool, and it did a lot of great things with, time travel-y sort of things and reversing time. So I'm very happy. Playing those games on the go would be so new. I had this really cool screen for the GameCube where you can it was like an LCD screen. It was not that great a quality, but you put it on the GameCube and you could play it in the car or something like that. That was awesome. So Kirby's Air Ride is also coming to the virtual GameCube console, and Kirby's Air Ride, one of my favorite games on the GameCube, hands down, because, it was made by the same people that did Smash Brothers. And yeah, that one was so crazy cool. You could jump out of your aircraft in the city trial mode and just walk around, get different. This was everyone's dream playing Mario Kart. Like, what if you can just, hop out of your, and do some sort of adventuring? And Kirby's Air Ride, it finally did that. So Wario's World is coming, which I've never played, but I actually own. I should pretty much play that game, right? Wario's World. I think that's a very original game. So Super Monkey Ball is coming, Pio Pop Fever is coming, Super Mario Strikers, which is the soccer, the football game, and that was actually a lot of fun. I think the Wii sequel did a lot of great things as well. And then Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2 are coming to the Virtual Console, which I love because Pikmin 3, did so well on the Wii U. Actually, it had quite a lot of good sales, but there's also a little tiny hint that there might be a Pikmin, a new Pikmin sequel coming. And I won't spoil too much, but it's going to be called Pikmin Wars, if we can, believe this leak, which is the spiritual fourth game and also kind of a reboot. And it features an insane, breathtaking engine with an advanced lighting and high-end textures using Vulkan. Can have hundreds of Pikmin at one time, which would be crazy for the franchise because we need that, right? The Wii U is underpowered. We want more Pikmin. We want them to look better. We want the world to look, exactly like our real life world, because that is what Pikmin is supposed to be. And it will come with a mobile game called Pikmin Labs, where you can create your own unique Pikmin not seen in the game. So your own color, your own, abilities, which would be so cool. And it will have a huge local and online multiplayer element to it as well. But that's moving a bit too far. The other Virtual Console games are Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which is so cool because Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, I played that game until there was nothing on that disc. It was just scratched. It was just, I could basically almost throw it away, but it still worked. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, the Chow Garden, collecting all those animals, collecting, all those rings, getting those S ranks. Oh man, I have so many fond memories of that game. So also Star Fox Assault, Wave Race Blue Storm, which is really cool, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, and of course, the biggest thing, Paper Mario the 1000-Year Door. I'm so happy. So playing games like that, just imagine playing games like Paper Mario the 1000-Year Door on a handheld. We had Sticker Star in handheld, right? That was everything that we know a Paper Mario game on a handheld can be. And now we are going to have Paper Mario the 1000-Year Door on a handheld. That, to me, I am just glowing right now. Anyway, this was, everything I wanted to cover right now, which was especially the Joy-Con, the new Joy-Con attachments, the accessories, and a lot of the Virtual Console GameCube games that are coming out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can click the subscribe button and become part of our family, which means that, we are kind of like the video game tabloid. We, give you all the news that you want and kind of analyze it as well. So I'm very thankful that all of you have joined us. It's so cool to have over 2,000 subscribers. I'm going to make a video very soon to announce a live stream. And, if you've had, the pleasure of joining our previous live stream, you know that this is something that you really don't want to miss. So, see you guys later. Please subscribe and be back very soon tomorrow for another Nintendo Switch video where we dive a little bit into the retail games that will be available. So, in other words, What launch games will be available from maybe first-party Nintendo? Find out tomorrow and subscribe to Block Content. See you guys later.